4, 3, 2, 1. All right, I'm pretending counting down. Okay, hello everybody. This is Wei, Mr. Wei. So great to see you guys on Saturday afternoon. And I see people are joining. So thank you for making the time on a weekend evening. Super appreciate it. I want to promise it will worth your time, since we'll be talking about one of the most interesting topic, right? When we do speech and debate, the competition is always at the front and center. And so we invited a fantastic group of students, leadership team, and also competitors just to join us to share their unfiltered insights and experience. So for those of you who are interested in joining our team, you have some takeaways, have something to ponder on. Okay, so I'm gonna be really out of the way quickly and have our leadership team actually to take over, who will be, some of them are, well, most of them will be double duty. They are on the leadership team, and plus they are on the JV varsity team as well. So you will see there will be bounce questions off each other. So I'm gonna, okay, if for those of you who just joined, if you can mute yourself, and we're gonna get going shortly. Okay, so Coach Robert, are you ready? Have you take over?
All ready? Cool. Thanks so much, Mr. Wei. Hi, I am Coach Robert. I'm the facilitator of the leadership team. I'm going to answer a few questions about myself that I'm about to ask the competitors, which my name, which I've already done, my grade. I'm in grad school. I'm currently working my master's program in human communication at Cal State Fullerton. Hobbies outside of school. I really like cooking, but also games, reading, a lot of stuff. When I was competing, I worked on a lot of platforms, limited preps, and towards the end, I did some interp stuff. So I'm going to start asking some of the competitors their name, grade, hobbies, and events you competed in this last semester. First person I see is Vanessa. We'll go ahead and start with you.
Okay, hello. My name is Vanessa. I'm in 9th grade. Wait, what events I did?
Events and hobbies, yeah.
But I did only prose and impromptu last semester. And something I like to do after school is, or like besides school and speech and debate, is I like to play basketball and tennis.
Cool. Keep it active. Nice. All right. The next person I see is Nathan.
Hi, I'm Nathan Hahn. I'm a 9th grader this year. Hobbies outside of school and speech and debate. I do like a lot of more artsy things. I know. I play the piano, I play the violin, and I also dabble in the performing arts. So like I sing and I act. For this year, I mostly competed in debate. So for the first, in the fall semester, I did public forum, and in the spring, I did Lincoln Douglas.
Exciting. Keep them busy. Nice. All right. Next person is Jessica.
Hi, my name is Jessica Yang. I'm in 11th grade. Currently, I've been working on dramatic interpretation and original oratory, so I'm hoping to also do that in the coming year. Outside of school, I enjoy sewing and writing, as those are the things I also do in school because of the school I go to.
Lots of frogs. Thank you. Cool. Iris? Oh, I can't hear you. There we go. Yep, all good. Cool. All right. Next person is Ivy.
My My name is Ivy. I'm going to be a junior this year. Hobbies outside of school include volleyball, and I competed in OO this year.
OO, sometimes called persuasion, depending on the tournament. Cool, thank you. And Helen, I think, is our last competitor for now.
Hi, my name is Helen Fang. I'm a ninth grader, and my hobbies are figure skating and I guess art. This past season, I competed in HI, impromptu, and informative.
Cool, thanks so much. All right, I'm going to pass it off to some of our leadership team to ask some questions for the rest of the team as well, just as I was doing. This is going to be Vanessa, and then moving on to Iris, and then Nathan at the end. So I'll pass it on to Jessica. Vanessa, sorry.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, I'm just gonna choose someone random to answer my question. And that someone random would be Helen. Okay, so when did you start learning speech and debate, Helen?
I started when I was in fourth grade.
Oh, what do you so like when did you start competing?
I think like sixth grade. I was too afraid to compete.
Oh, why?
I don't know. I just didn't feel comfortable doing it, and I was too scared.
Oh, okay. What were the reasons you wanted to be part of the JV/varsity team?
I think it's because like in elementary and middle school, there weren't any clubs for speech debate, and the JV varsity team was a great opportunity to try to further my speech and debate skills.
Okay. And the last question is, did your school have a speech and debate team?
No, nothing.
Oh, really? Oh, and then what role does JV/varsity team play, I guess?
Well, I benefited a lot from the one-on-one private tutoring that it offers, and it also allowed me to attend a lot of workshops that also like gave me a lot of useful feedback when I was working on my pieces.
Oh, okay. So that's all my questions. We can move on to Iris. Yeah.
Yeah, sure, go ahead. Oh. I don't know. I don't keep. I think it was okay. Well, okay, because like usually in the fall there's less. The majority of like the major tournaments were in the spring. So like we had that one in-person tournament at Claremont, the Wolfpack tournament. Um, and then well, I also went to states, and I also went to a few national tournaments. I went to NSDEA, and I also I went to I think it was a nationals NSDA. And I also went to the middle school tournament champions, MS Talk. Um, yeah, but like again, it's like mostly a lot of it is like packed more towards the spring. So that's like when I was a little more busy. But it was a pretty busy season. A little bit. I think it's better for me because well, again, it's packed towards the end of the year. Um, and I don't have to do APs yet. I think I'm doing APs this year. Anyways, I didn't have to do any APs last year, and finals for school at Ocean were thankfully not too bad. So I didn't have to worry too much about school. But again, like it's like in general, like you have to worry about nationals. And because it's debate, because I did a lot of debate, which is different from speech in that like you have months and months and months to practice one speech. With debate, I basically just had a few weeks to put together my case. So yeah, it was kind of, but like again, having JV varsity and also being a part of the competitive track class, which was basically just me and Claire with Coach Asha. Um, so like it was a lot of one-on-one time with Coach Asha. So that was really, really helpful. Yeah. Um, so at school, you know, like I think I found it most useful with, of course, English class and history, like social science class. Because last year, I think this is really fun. Because last year we read the Edgar Allan Poe poem about, I don't remember the name, but like, you know, about like the beating heart. I don't know if anyone knows the name, but like basically we had to write
The Tale of
our,
Heart or something like that?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that thing.
Um, basically that we had to like write our own like little mini essays about whether we thought that the main protagonist was insane or like in a court of law would they have deemed him insane and thus would not be guilty. So that was really fun because I have experience with writing debate cases. So it was, I just kind of pulled over the format and wrote that in, and it was really fun. And when we had like a little debate in our class, and so I had everything set up. I had my speech out, I had my notes out, I had my clock app up on my phone. Um, it was just so fun. And then also at social science, because like, you know how you have to like go up and do presentations or whatever. It's just so nice because I know that at school it's way less stressful than in a tournament. So like, you know, it's like I'm kind of used to it. I don't have to be afraid of doing it.
Hey, Iris, sorry. I'm gonna just interject a little bit. Interject because we actually have 90 minutes. We have so we can really ask a multiple competitors just to have a diverse type of answers as well. So maybe same question. I know Vanessa went through really quickly, like in 5 minutes, right? So let's slow down a little bit. Let's go dig a little bit deeper, right? You can ask the same question for, you know, Helen or other competitors, just get a different type of views, okay? Okay, well, okay. Yeah, we could do that. We could do that. So let's start. You have a lot of time. Yep.
Oh, do you want me to ask my questions or answer your question?
Sure. Oh, and also just for the benefits of audience, we will kind of, you know, we have some questions prepared among the leadership team, but afterwards we'll have a lot of time for the audience to really ask questions as well. So don't worry if you have questions, hold on to those first, then we'll save those later on.
Okay.
Okay.
Does anyone from the leadership team want me to ask them questions? If not, I'll just pick someone random. I guess I'll pick Jessica, if that's fine.
Hello.
Okay. Hello. So when did you? Oh wait. Okay. When did you start learning speech and debate?
I started learning speech and debate, I want to say in 4th or 5th grade.
Okay. So when did you start competing?
I don't think
Like-
I started. Oh, sorry.
Wait, what?
I thought you had more to say. I started competing when I was, I think, in 6th grade. The first tournament I ever went to was a Cal State Fullerton tournament, and I didn't quite know what the events were yet. I didn't know anything. So I walked into the room, everyone had this nice format laid out, and I was standing here talking about tenrecs, which, if you don't know, are a small rodent that lives in South America and in parts of North America.
Well, what event was this again?
This was for impromptu. So even though I
Oh.
didn't quite know what I was doing, I had a lot of fun. And I started just
Mhm.
talking about, for 5 minutes, by the way, I made a judge listen to me talk for 5 minutes about a North American rodent. North and South American, sorry, mostly in South America. But it taught me a lot of valuable skills, and it did
Yeah.
give me insight as to like what I was supposed to be doing, which is not that. But it was good.
Yeah. Okay. What were the reasons that you wanted to be part of the JV/varsity team?
I felt as though normal classes were getting, I felt like I was outgrowing them, you know? It's like when you graduate,
Mhm.
you're like, all right, goodbye, elementary school. I got to go to middle school, or the same thing with high school. So I thought it would be a better way to work on my pieces, especially since I also work better. Like if I'm working on a project, I would rather have some one-on-one time than having to like collaborate in a group, because I do have my individual pieces. And while there's a lot of benefit in working in groups, which I would get from the workshops being in the part of the JV varsity club, I kind of needed that extra attention if I was going to continue competing seriously, especially in the absolute battlefield that is high school.
Did you have any speech and debate teams at your school?
I did not. So when I started competing in elementary, there was no speech and debate teams there. There weren't any in middle school. The
Mhm.
first one I encountered was in my high school 2 years ago, but they did a completely different circuit. So no.
Oh, okay. What roles does the JV/varsity team play for you?
They were it became like the backbone of how I got my practice, my feedback, how I was able to actually work on my pieces and do the things I wanted to do in speech and debate. So it played a pretty vital role in sustaining how I would approach speech and debate in the future, going forward in my years as I slowly descend into senior year.
Mhm. Oh, is that it?
Yep.
Okay. Do you want me to pick someone else, Coach? Where do you want Iris to go?
Maybe pick one more.
Okay. I'll just go for Iris then. Um, so okay. When did you start learning speech and debate? Mhm. When did you start competing? Okay. What were the reasons that you wanted to be part of the JV/varsity team? Mhm. 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 Um, did your school have a speech and debate team of any format? Like, um, sure. Very cool. What role does the JV/varsity hold on. What role does the JV/varsity team play in your life, I guess? Mhm. Mhm. Okay, now you can ask questions to other people.
Good. Sure, go for it. I want to say like 4 or 5. So I start them in the summer. This year I'm actually kind of late on it, but write it in the summer. I'll probably have like something I'm very passionate about at the time, and then I'll develop it into a speech. So whatever I'm passionate about this year. Last year it was imposter syndrome. The previous year it was like exploration woman. This year probably gonna do something like about thoughts and prayers. I find something I'm passionate about, start with research, and then I go into like writing, or I start with outline and then research, and then I go to writing the thing. This would be like in end of August. And then we make multiple changes to the speech, edit it, because obviously first write is a rough draft. And then once I get the speech down, the script down, I start memorizing, and hopefully I finish like delivering the piece in like September. And then, you know, obviously multiple changes after like the judges give us feedback. So it's always changing, but most of the stuff happens like in the summer.
Okay. Uh, I think that it helps a lot, I guess. Um, I don't know. Yeah, it helps a lot. Yeah. Oh, I went to a lot of the meetings. I don't think I had private coaching, but yeah, yeah.
All right. Oh, um, oh, sorry, my dog's being loud. I attended some small tournaments in the beginning of the year just to get feedback. And then I went to, what did I do? I think I did talk and then CHASA, state, nationals. Yeah, I think that's it. I think it just helped my social interaction in general because I'm an introvert and I don't like socializing with people. And before, I wouldn't be able to talk to people at all. And I wouldn't be able to give presentations or anything. But competing in speech and debate really allowed me to develop those skills. So when I give class presentations now, at least they can hear me and understand what I'm saying. I definitely got a lot of help out of the JV varsity team. The private coaching really helped me. Like I would do, I think it was a session with Coach Asha every week. And sometimes I would do a private session with another coach just to get feedback. And that really helped me develop my pieces.
Sure, that's why I'm here. I attended, I want to say around 10 tournaments. I can name like 2. I can try. Oh gosh, I went to the Claremont Wolfpack tournament. I think I went to the NSDA Invitationals. I want to say I went to Peninsula, but I'm not sure. La Costa. I went to La Costa. Okay, I replaced that one. Those are my 3 that I remember. Thank you. They were weird. They were really weird because, again, COVID is still very much a thing that we should be worrying about. And I was feeling a bit strange going back in person. I wasn't sure how to execute my pieces because I was still kind of in this iffy zone of I shouldn't be out here. This is because, quarantine mode. And it was interesting seeing people take on definitely creative liberties with their, like, getting back into what they were normally going to do. And it's just another adjustment period, like what happened when we did go online. It's like getting back offline is a whole process. If I had to choose one, I believe when I was doing like the National Invitationals tournament, I was I was in a room doing, I think I was ready for my original oratory, and we had masks on as courtesies for our competitors and our judges, but there was this person who as part of their speech got up and was wearing 3 masks and just like, and now I will take off my mask only to reveal a second mask underneath. So it was interesting how they were taking like the things that normally we would consider as props, but obviously in these times it was like as for a safety thing, and incorporating it into their speech about COVID and how that's affected social life, because I thought it added just a nice pop of life into their speech. Whether or not they were allowed to do it, not sure, but I think it was nice to see.
Yeah, I can go ahead. Yeah, I can go ahead and take over. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead. We're gonna get into more of like reflection part. So we just talked about, how was your year? Talked about all the tournaments you had. And I'll just kind of go around the room with each question. I'll just kind of go down. What do you think you've learned from this year's tournament specifically? Like coming out of COVID and finally starting to transition a little bit more back into in person, because I know we had that in person Claremont Wolfpack tournament. Just like how was this year for you guys? What'd you think? What'd you learn? Let's start with Ivy.
Um, What did I learn this year?
Yeah.
I would say I learned how to like take feedback more. And like obviously not all feedback's gonna be good from the judges, but like they still do say some like common things, like all of them. And just like you have to take it and apply to your speeches. Like don't think that you're not gonna make changes to it once you've like finished writing it.
Yeah. Kind of branching off of that, we can, if you can elaborate a little more about that, how do you kind of deal with criticism and how do you, filter out what is unnecessary and really get to the meat of the criticism in a healthy way? And how do you incorporate that in your work?
So filtering out, mostly like my coaches help me filter it out because like they know what I need to work on and they know kind of just what's like, I guess like not the best feedback.
Have you had like any interactions? I'll kind of leave this a little more open-ended. Have you had like specifically any really good interactions with feedback? Or have you had any like really bad interactions with feedback?
Yeah,
And
like
how is
definitely.
that?
Definitely I've experienced both ends of the spectrum. And you can like kind of tell what's the good feedback and what's the bad feedback, like just with like the wording of the ballot that you receive. And try your best to incorporate the new feedback. And that's how you'll get better.
All right. Let's go to Vanessa. What was the main takeaways from this year? What you've learned?
I learned to like not beat myself up after every tournament because then you're not gonna, I guess you're not gonna have like a better, what's it called, you're not gonna like have a better score, I guess. Or like after every event, if you like just yell at yourself, then you're not gonna do good in the next round, I guess. Yeah.
And again, similar to what I've asked Ivy, because a lot of that criticism, if like when you look at the ballots,
Mhm.
and you look at all of it, because I know that I've had this experience in the past throughout this year as well,
Mhm.
where sometimes you look at the ballots and you see, oh, well, okay, specifically for debate, I was like, I won this, but I lost this. That's so unfair, or whatever. And I've had experiences where I've completely disagreed with judges, and like a
Mhm.
lot of the times the judges, I just did not agree with what the judge was saying.
Yeah.
So how do you kind of cope with that? How do you deal with that?
I usually just look at my ballot and then just send it to the coach and then have them tell me what to do. But like, yeah, I wouldn't really worry about it usually. I just ignore the ballot until the next class and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
have
yeah.
the teacher fix.
Yeah, no, I think that teacher one-on-one, it's so nice. It's so nice to have
Mhm.
that connection with that teacher and be able to contact them.
Yeah.
Okay, Jessica, you're the next one in that row. What do you think? What have you learned?
What did I learn in general, or
Just like from this year, like what some main takeaways?
I I guess I learned that it is okay to, this is going to sound bad. It's okay to give up on your pieces. And here's why. Maybe not at the very end of your year, but if you're doing a piece and it's like September, November, even December, and you find yourself really hating it, it is better to just not do it. Because pushing myself to do a piece that I personally was not proud of, that I was no longer interested in when I wrote it, on a whim, maybe in the summer, was not it's not fun for anyone, because people can definitely tell when you when you are actually passionate about the project or you're just doing it to get it over with. So definitely don't be afraid to tell yourself that this isn't working out and we have to find something, and it's better to address it now than it is to do it in March when you're about to compete for nationals. So definitely it's okay to not see something that's not going to work out through to the end, because it's not going to be good for you, your mental health, as well as your performance.
That was a good answer. I like that. I like that. Yeah. Continuing to elaborate with you, Jessica. You're already kind of doing this, but in general, I think this topic is kind of going towards more of the mental health side. So would you have any specific advice for competitors? I know you specialize in speeches, so like, how do you think, as this year has gone, what would you say is like the main advice you give to new competitors?
I would say for new competitors, don't be so worried about winning. Which in a competition like that's not normally what you're normally thinking about. What can I do to maximize performance, right? But like before and after, your goal shouldn't be I'm going to have to beat everyone in that room. If this isn't like a swimming race where you touch the wall and you win, there's going to be judges who disagree with you. There are going to be other students who take this outlandish approach, and people will think that's better. It's a very interpretive thing, speech and debate is, especially for debate where I know there is a win-lose side. But for this, for a new competitor, your main goal should be to, and again, this is going to sound really bad, to steal as much from your competitors as you can. It's like Kirby, one of my favorite video game characters. Take all information in, discard what you don't like, keep it for yourself. And so you like the way this person gestures, gesture that way. You like the way the person changes their tone of voice, steal that. And eventually you're going to be this shambling conglomerate of everything you've loved about everyone else's speeches, that by the time you're the one who does win these competitions, you are at a point where you can accept that you can improve still, because you can still look back on these other performances and be like, I'm gonna steal that. That's, I think, what I wish I would have known when I was just first starting out. Just steal other people's stuff for yourself. Ethically.
Ethically stealing. That's great. That's great advice, Jessica. Thank you very much. You've told our new competitors to steal. Great. This is a seasoned professional. This is the advice from a seasoned professional. Listen closely. Okay. Next we have Iris. Iris, what have you learned? What have you learned? How long have you been competing, Iris? As most people do. Commitment is scary. Um, but like throughout your entire career competing, um, what have you kind of found works for you, right? Like, cause like going off of what you and Jessica have said about, not focusing on winning, about like failure is good. It's a lot harder to do in practice. So like in specifics, what have you found works for you, and what have you found you can do to, really embody that? No. Like to take failure and because especially for new competitors, especially like when you're first getting into the competitive scene, it's really, really discouraging a lot of the time when you do see a failure. So like how did you learn to deal with that as you progress throughout your competitions? Okay. So to summarize, we have learned from Jessica and Iris that to cope with failure, you need to steal as well as think of every other person as below you. This is great.
I
This is
think
fantastic.
I think another way to look at it is to when you're having a hard time, recognizing that you're not the only one having a hard time, right? Everybody make mistakes. So recognizing that you're not the only one having that issue is kind of your saving grace in a way, right? Because like you're recognizing that what you did in hindsight really wasn't a big deal, right? Because if you're going to be making the same mistakes that everybody else is making, then everybody's making mistakes, then really nobody made any mistakes, right? Because if that's the standard, then cool. And then for like stealing things, you really, it's less stealing and more like taking inspiration from the people. Because like I used to compete, right? So you're inspired by these people who you see as really amazing speakers, and a lot of times you actually make friends with people that are your competitors. So you really enjoy seeing what they do, how they do it, and you spin it in your own way and kind of adopt some of these behaviors. And there's a reason why they do well, right? Because they did the same exact thing. So in like simply yes, like yes, we did steal, yes, we did like think of other people as below us, but you want to spin it in a way that like we're trying to improve ourselves as a community together, and it's a very communal space in which we can kind of work together and share in our wins and our losses, right?
Yeah, I kind of want to branch off of what you just said there. Um, there is, okay, in my experience as a debater this year, because it's so much more competitive in terms of there is a win and there is a lose. Like there's an outright, there's a W or there's an L on your ballot. It's it can be it can be discouraging a lot of the time, but I think if we see it more of a way to like not as personal insult. Um, because a lot of the times it can become personal. It can be like, okay, this judge just didn't like me, or okay, maybe I'm just not good enough, or I'll never be good enough. Um, have you guys heard of the growth mindset? You know the growth mindset. Everyone learns about it at the beginning of the year. I've heard it like literally in my classrooms. I've heard it like 5 different times from 5 different classes. Anyways, um, but it works. It is true of being able to grow. And I've had experiences this year of where I used to do Congress and I met at Claremont. And this is kind of what I like about in-person tournaments. You make that connection. At Claremont, I met another Congress debater, and we started talking, and she was super nice and she was super sweet. And that moment was just so incredible because, again, it goes back to the idea of why we do speech and debate. It's about this communal activity. It's about growing together, and it's about sharing ideas, that is the center of communication. And I think a lot of the competition scene kind of gets in the way of that a lot of times.
May I add a quick comment on the stealing part? I know you guys were laughing about that, but don't feel bad. You know what? In the teacher circle, right? That's a common word. And you know, in the past, I was saying, hey, so and so using this strategy, and I was super polite, right? Can I borrow your strategy? And other teachers saying, don't say borrow, just steal mine. Steal my strategy. So I think, but Coach Robert mentioned it's really, I mean, that process is a way for you to, get new ideas, right? Get inspirations and get maybe additional motivations for you to iterate on your piece. I think that's the most difficult part. I think, Jessica touched on that as well, right? If the piece is not working, what do, right? It could be stuck. You will be stuck. How do you get unstuck, right? It could be really get new ideas or really know when to quit that piece as well. So thanks for sharing a lot of the insights. I didn't expect those. I think even the growth mindset, when Iris and Jessica talking about those, I was saying, perfect example to show what is growth mindset is, right? We all heard that multiple times, especially in the school setting, but this is growth mindset at practice. This is real world stuff, right? So thank you. Awesome. Okay, continue.
Yeah, great. Moving on from that conversation, we have Helen. Helen, you're the last to answer this question. So what have you taken away from this year and what have you learned?
Definitely to try new things. So back in December, when I said I wanted to do HI, I told my mom about it. She was like, "Ha, you do HI? No way, you're not funny. All you know how to do is do 冷笑话 or puns." And she was being so mean to me. And in my head, I was like, okay, you watch, I am going to win at nationals. But I didn't say it out loud in case I didn't win. And then I won and I rubbed it in her face. The point is sometimes don't listen to your mom, but also you should not be afraid to try new things, even if your mom may not think you're able to.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful story. What events, because I know you've done a lot of it, what events have you done in the past? And just how much have you done?
So in the past, impromptu storytelling, HI info. Wait, what did I do this year? Oh yeah, HI info. And then I did poetry last year and I didn't do that great. I did Congress once and I dabbled in SPAR and public forum, but that was only in class. So I kind of did a bit of everything and competed in only what I liked best.
Okay. In general, when you go to a tournament, how many different speeches do you take to it?
If it's a big tournament, I take 3. If I'm feeling burnt out, I'll only take 1 or 2. It really depends on what results I want and if I need feedback on a particular piece.
Okay. And I know that you went to state and you went to nationals. So let's talk about that. What kind of successes did you find specifically with nationals?
Nationals is crazy. So on that day, I lost my voice and I was actually thinking of dropping out because I literally could not speak. And then somehow I made it through the preliminary rounds. So that definitely taught me to be adaptable, be able to just adjust to anything that happens. And also to hope for the best, because in HI, there was this one girl, she was from Texas. She was so good. And I thought, okay, she's definitely winning. But somehow, I guess the judges liked me more in finals, even though she won in all the rounds before that. So it definitely, teaches you to always, just hope for the best. You're already doing it. You might as well keep on going.
Helen, you got champion, didn't you? You got first. She's being so humble. Oh my God, you got first. Look, round of applause. Round of applause. Incredible.
National champion. Yay. Wow. Yeah, Helen, you're so humble. Totally agree.
Yeah, I think I'll kind of expand off of what you just said, Helen. Um, we're talking a lot about how to cope with competitions and like mental health. So I'll kind of go off of that theme. Um, don't okay, it's a competition, so it's very hard to do this, but you shouldn't compare yourself to others. And I think that's just like a general statement for all of life. A lot of it in what we do at school, in applying for colleges and applying for jobs, it's a lot of comparisons. It's a lot of that person's better than me. Oh, I should feel bad. But especially with competitions, it's very overwhelming sometimes because when you get into a round, you can think, oh, again, these people are better than me. But again, with your story, a lot of speech and debate is subjective, and you can never say what is happening. So, I think my personal advice, I'll just like throw my 2 cents into the mix, is when you get into a round, you don't need to worry about anything else except yourself and what you have prepared, right? Because you never know what's going to happen. You never know who your judges are, and you can't let your mind wander. Just focus on yourself, do some breathing, do whatever you need to center yourself. And I think that's very valuable because that not only allows you to clear your mind and do your performance better, but it just helps you in general to not freak out when you're in a session, especially when you're new to competitions. Anyways, let's move on from that. I think, okay, raise your hands, how many people went to the Claremont Wolfpack tournament? Like the in-person tournament? Is it just Helen? Wait, yeah, no, Jessica, I don't think you went, Jessica, did you? Yeah, okay, okay. Yeah, so Helen, I'm gonna direct this question to you again. How do you think online feels versus being in person?
Hmm. In some ways, it's worse because you don't get free food. We got free food at Claremont. That was great. But we didn't get ice cream. So I was kind of mad about that. But
Right? No, they promised
they
ice cream.
didn't give
They
us ice
promised ice
cream.
cream, and they didn't give us our ice cream. So
Okay.
disappointing.
So yeah, that part was disappointing, but the energy is something that you definitely don't get the same of online. It's just completely different when you're in a room with actual people in person. That part was definitely great. And I think it's definitely harder in person because online, well, like one time I was doing a storytelling and I kicked off my shoe and no one really realized that. If that happened in person, people would definitely realize. So you definitely have less to hide when you're in person, and that aspect makes it harder.
Did you have to like adjust anything about your speeches, or like was there anything you had to modify because of being in person?
I think I had to modify a bit for impromptu because online I can have my note card in front of me and pretend I'm not using it, but secretly look at it. But in person, I couldn't do that. So I had to actually like either bring the note card with me or trust myself and leave it on my desk. So there is no hiding in person.
Yeah, I think um, what happens a lot with being online, um, I'll answer this question myself. Um, there are certainly perks to both. I think being online, you can go get in and out. Um, you have the comfort of being in your own room. You're used to things, and there's a lot less walking. I find that a lot of like it's so stressful when you're like before a round and you have to like figure out the room you're in. You have to walk over there. And it's such a different environment of being in that room with other people. But again, there are a lot of perks of being in person as well. And I think I find myself being gravitated more towards being in person in general, like in the classroom as well as in competition settings. Just because, again, that story that I talked about, that connection is so lacking when you're online. It's like if we were doing this interview in person, it'd probably be such a different environment. So I find myself gravitating towards that energy of, having people work off of each other. As a theater person myself, yes, anding other people. It's so fun. It's so much more fun. Coach Robert, you have something to add?
Just kidding. I thought I was muted or unmuted. All right. I'll answer some of that and give my 2 cents as well. And then we're going to hop into some audience questions. So if anybody has any questions, go ahead and start thinking about it. If you don't, we're going to call on some people soon. But I just finished competing recently, I think in the last year. So when I started competing, it was in person. And then when I finished, that was during the pandemic, we were still online. There are benefits to both. Especially someone who did a lot of humorous style speeches like myself. Like everyone was saying, like a lot of the energy for humorous speeches or speeches in general are missing online. However, you can get really creative. I've seen some really cool things where people would there was one woman who was walking throughout her entire apartment while speaking and holding her phone because we're online. We need to recognize that we're online and things are different, right? I saw another student use 2 different classrooms and then during transitions run from one classroom to another to physically show that they were moving. Another one would walk around the camera so that it would look like they were walking into one frame and then through the other like that. Really weird stuff, right? But getting creative and kind of overcoming that modality is a really fun process. And then, yes, there's ice cream at tournaments and there's pizza occasionally. That's fun too. But we're going to go ahead and call in some audience members if you have questions for either some of the staff like myself or Mr. Way. I think Mr. David is hanging out as well. Or if you have questions for all of the leadership team or / competitors, go ahead and let us know. Anybody want to be called on for some questions? Hi, Ethan. You're totally fine. We're just going to be calling on the audience to ask questions for the JV varsity team about their either experience at tournaments or getting ready for tournaments, why they joined the team, things like that. Mm-hmm. Hi. Good question. Ivy, if you don't mind, I'm going to call on you for this. You touched upon it a little bit, but I think you have a good answer.
So obviously something you're passionate about, and then look at a lot of like current events. I would just like maybe you can Google some like current events right now, something that's like happening in this world, and also like make it personal to you. So like it could be something that you're struggling with right now, and you can actually like maybe you don't know what it's called at this moment, or you don't have like a topic for it yet. And I would like do some research about that thing that you might be like struggling with right now.
So with that, you could even like talk to any coaches that you have and say like, hey, I am feeling this kind of thing. I'm not sure if there's a name for it or if it's commonly talked about. And you can work with your coaches to help you find a topic for that. But honestly, when I started and I didn't know what to do, I would go through the news and just go through articles and be like, oh, here's some psychology news. Here's some technology news, stuff like that. No problem. Any other questions? Anybody else in the audience?
I'm going to throw a question here. And so I think we talked quite a bit, right, on speech and debate. I'm going to put that into a larger context, right? I see a lot of high schoolers. We have juniors, sophomore, right? Freshmen, a lot of freshmen as well. And so how do you actually balance? I know a lot of you are super, active in competing, right? We all know competing in tournament, it's very time consuming. How do you actually balance that with other academics and extracurricular? Let me call on, I have power now. Can I call on Ivy?
Just don't procrastinate like I did this summer. Schedule weekly meetings with coaches, privates, one-on-one. You can also sign up for like classes. I really like the competitive, what do you call it? The competitive lab.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then just take 1 or 2 hours each week to work on it. Because it doesn't have to be that much. I wouldn't say speech is a huge time commitment. Like it's nowhere compared to my volleyball. And if you like it, it will be like easy for you to work on it.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, always attend tournaments. So you're keeping up with your speech. You're not like forgetting parts of it. And you're always like at a consistent memory level and consistent like level with your events.
Awesome. Actually, you touch on a good time management sort of technique, right? It's really, think about, you have the tournament season, which is long, and we all know fall is slower, right? Fall is slower, and spring is super kind of, peaking essentially. So you want to kind of, spread things out, distribute across. Then I would say, that's something we haven't touched on. Somehow you peak your performance at the national, like the finale, that will be the best, right? So I like to hear, maybe that could be my next question, like how do you peak? But I'm gonna throw that question to, Vanessa is off the screen. Vanessa, are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay, can you answer the question, how do you balance? You are a freshman now, right? In high school?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Time flies. So
Yeah.
how do you balance, like what are you planning to do in high school, and what's your plan to balance?
The thing is, I don't know, because like before I had like literally no homework. So like it was like just do whatever my mom told me to do.
Okay.
Like whatever she forced me to do. But like I guess now, since I have a lot more things, I think, I'm probably just gonna like do homework and during the week, like do as much as I can for the weekend, and then join tournaments, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You're part of the transformation right now, right? So that's good. That's
Yeah.
good. I'll ask that
But I don't know
question.
if I will have a lot of homework. Cause like right now, like we already started like 2 weeks of school. And like it
Mhm.
seems like the teacher aren't giving any homework out right now, so I'm not sure.
Don't worry, it will come. Okay, homework will
Yeah.
come for sure. All right, Jessica.
Same question.
Yeah, same
Awesome.
question.
I would say once you get older, it gets harder. And there will be times where you have to consider, if you're taking 5 AP classes, what you want to do, right? So to all my rising high schoolers out there, those of you who are freshmen or maybe in middle school, don't take a million AP classes. Colleges don't want to see you cramming these things down your throat, because if you really want to do speech and debate and you really like doing speech and debate, you have to carve out a time in your life to do that. And you're not going to be able to do that if you have 5 AP classes, you're doing all this work until 11 or 12 at night, and you have no other time to practice, you're going to burn yourself out so quickly, and it's going to suck. So instead, I would ask you to consider what do you value? And it's okay if you can sacrifice 1 or 2 high-level classes for A, your own benefit, your own health, and B, so that you can also contribute some of this time towards doing speech and debate, and to also go to sleep at a reasonable hour. It's about not only just time management in general, it's about understanding that you as a person, you have your limits, and it's not okay to sacrifice your own well-being consistently for the entire year just so you can push out a product, because in doing so, you sacrifice the quality of not only your schoolwork, your other extracurriculars, but also the piece that you sacrifice so much for. It's not going to work out for any of those things. It's okay to pick and choose your battles.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. So being a college counselor, I got that question all the time, like how many APs, right? How many APs? And I think one time I saw a survey, and the most APs someone took during high school was 24. That was really, really crazy, right? It's almost 6 APs every single year. And I bet that person didn't get into any of the top level. The reason is it's holistic, right? So really touching on Jessica's point, the advice I give to my students is take as many APs as you can, while you can still have a sane schedule. You can still have a balanced lifestyle, right? So you don't want to burn yourself out, then you really don't enjoy your high school life anymore. That's really not worth it. So awesome. Okay, I'm gonna throw that question to Iris as well. Balance, and yeah, balance with academic and extracurricular. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. Okay. So Iris, you touch on maybe, I don't know, return on investment in some way, like you're reflecting and figure out what sort of the investment you have to do, right? So okay. And Helen, I know you competed quite a bit. I saw your name all the time when I do the newsletter. Whoa, Helen is winning this and that. Awesome. So how did you balance your schedule? I know you're busy with other extracurricular, right? Like ice skating and such.
Honestly, how did I do it? That's a good question. So when I was in elementary, I was pretty much able to practice every day, but in middle school, that wasn't happening. I just didn't have the time. So sometimes I would go like a couple of days without practicing, But when that happens, I take the time, like a scheduled block of time, like an hour or so, and I make sure to work on my piece then. And especially before tournaments, I made sure to put in the time. I think mostly it was about pacing myself, knowing when I needed to practice more and when I could like hold back a bit so that I didn't get burnt out through the season.
Awesome. Pacing. Yes, it's super important. Like in any competition, athletic or even test prep, right? Doing SAT and ACT, you need to pace yourself. Okay, good advice. All right, Coach Robert, you have your hand raised. Want to run? Let's see. Do you have questions? Anyone else has questions? Or you can take over this part.
Either. I was gonna say, if anybody has any questions and you don't want to break up the flow of conversation, feel free to put the question in the comments and we can address that as we see it. Real quick, for any students watching, if that's the case, learning to schedule is one of the best things that helped me, learning to balance my work in speech and debate and my school. Like a planner, sometimes they hand them out in high school, middle school. Writing down all of your time that you're in school and then also the time you're at extracurricular activities can help you physically see what time you need to like take care of. And if you don't schedule things at like 2 things at the same time, it can be a struggle if you don't have it physically on paper, because you sometimes will forget if you have a lot going on, especially like a tournament coming up. It's not something that you do every single week. You can schedule that ahead of time and then not double book things. Just while we're waiting, in case anyone has any questions, I'll go ahead and give you the time, like a few seconds, and then if not, I've got a question to ask the team. So just to be more clear, I suppose, if the audience has any questions.
Ask them anything.
All right. Like I said, if you have a question, you can put it in the chat. In the meantime, for some of the competitors, how did you choose whether you wanted to do debate, speech, or both? I'm going to call on Nathan for this one.
Okay. I'm really bad with this kind of stuff. Um, in general, as a person, I tend to overthink and to be very indecisive. And okay, I think this question is really relevant for me because I've kind of dabbled on both sides of speech and debate. I started off with speech, and I did a year of informative, and I did well with it, and I got to nationals. Um, and then I decided to try out speech or debate. Um, I do this with ice cream too, where like every single time I try out a new flavor, because I'm like, what if I'm missing out? What if I found the flavor, you know? So I was like, hey, let's try debate. And I did that this year. I'm mostly focused on debate. And now at this point, I've spent 1 year with both. I feel like I've been having this conversation with one of the coaches, Coach Asha, and we're kind of discussing we now need to like as I'm going into high school, we now need to really buckle down and focus on what you want to do and not just kind of like float around. Um, I think it's mostly with my personal experience. Um, I found that it's they're very closely related, but they're two very different worlds, speech and debate. Um, it, it's because like with debate, it's almost like a different side of the same coin. It's like a different side of me where I have to present it as a lot more intense. If you want to win, you have to like grab it. You have to choke the other person. Not to not to like that, but like it's more of a fierce nature. as opposed to speech, where I found that it's more centered on yourself. Um, for my decision making, I think overall, I've had a better with regards to mental health. I've found it's more healthy for me to do speech, because number one, debate, just to like put it out there, debate is not easy because it's so subjective. Like if you have one judge that like you can do the exact same thing and two judges will say like the exact opposite thing, and it's so crazy. And it's also it's a lot of work. I would say it's a huge workload, especially for like Lincoln Douglas or public forum, where you have to cycle through different topics 1 month or 2 months, and you have to redo your speeches every single time. And usually it's multiple speeches. Congress is probably the worst because you have to do so many speeches. But I found that I think it's just more healthy for me to do speech. And again, it's more in line with what I do with theater. And I found more of a connection with that. So that's what I'm kind of doing this year. That's what I'm planning to do with Coach Asher. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, totally answers the question. It's your decision. Everybody has like a different personality, likes and dislikes. So what you may think about debate, someone may feel the exact opposite. I have friends that compete with Cal State Fullerton that love the community. And like they could be like super aggressive with their opponents. And then after the round, they're like, hey, like let's go get some in and out, you know? Like it just depends on your personality, which one you gravitate towards, especially someone with a theater background. You're gonna go a little bit more towards the interp and platforms. But yeah, how did you decide? We'll go with another student. How did you decide whether you wanted to do speech or debate? I haven't heard from, let's say Jessica in a while.
So I did do both. I'm just putting it out there. I'm biased. I'm on the same side as Nathan. I prefer speech a lot more than I prefer debate. But that's because I did speech first. How did I decide? I tried it. So I think that's the most important thing, especially if you're a young child. I would say elementary, middle school. You still have time. You're not in high school yet. It's not too late. If you have the time, go out and try it. Even if you've only done speech, I was a little salty about this. I was thrown into a public forum tournament about 2 weeks before it started, and I was you have to have a partner in public forum. I had a great partner. His name is Grant. He's very tall, and he low-key kind of carried me. But I was able to apply my speech skills that I had garnered over the years into debate. And that allowed me to win top speaker in every round. So my performance was the best. Was my content? Absolutely not. There are overlaps. So if you want to transition from one to the other, you could totally do that. It's not set in stone for you youngins out there. But deciding is really just doing both of them, sitting yourself down and asking which one made me feel better as a speaker, right? I don't like arguing with people because personally for me, it sounds like they're yelling at me and that makes me sad in general. And also I personally have a hard time figuring out what other people's intentions are, what they're actually like, not what they're feeling, but what the underlying meaning to their words are, which means I can't take like subcontext of what they're saying. Like if they're making a implicit argument to the judge, I can't defend myself against that because I don't even know it's there. Whereas in speech, I can just focus on myself. If those are the skills that you have and you think, hey, I would be pretty good at that, go for it. Don't let people scare you, I think is another thing. There are going to be mean speech kids. There are going to be mean debate kids. You're probably never going to see them again. And if you do, you could just glare at them from the other side of the room. But I would say don't let mean people discourage you. Instead, listen to what you as a speaker is telling yourself about your performance, how it makes you feel. And I think that's how you can make a good decision on what you can do with your future.
Cool. Yeah, I think you touched on that big thing is just try as many things as you can. Be a Grant every time you go get ice cream, get a new flavor every time. we have a ton of classes at QD. So even if you're not on the competitive track, you can always take a new class. And then we have even like more over the summer, like summer camps. I think we have like humorous classes. We had a STEM class over the summer. And that's pretty cool. But yeah, I totally agree with that. Trying as many things as possible and kind of picking and choosing what made you feel the best or what made you like feel like the most powerful would be cool too. And it looks like Mr. Wei has a hand. Go ahead.
I have a sort of a question dying to ask all of you. Okay, so how do you actually keep motivated during the long season? I have seen, I mean, students kind of started super strong, boom, right? Kind of nosedive. And some are kind of slowly, like I mentioned, peak at the nationals. Those are the best case scenario, right? So I want to see like if any of you have strategies, keep motivated throughout the season or any experience, maybe share with us. Who wants to start first? Ivy, you start.
For me, it's simple. Just force yourself to sign up for tournaments and you'll just automatically be motivated.
Force yourself. Just like, you know, sign up for SAT. I have no choice now. I have
Oh,
to
yeah,
do
exactly.
that. The
Yeah.
same thing, right? Same thing.
Yeah. Just force
That-
yourself
that-
to do things.
Right. Force you to do backward planning as well. I like it. Just no question asked, jumping. Okay, Helen, how about you?
For me, I've actually had both scenarios, one where I burnt out and one where I peaked. And I think what helps me is not starting too early in the season. This is going to be, oh my God, my dog, sorry. This is going to be different for depending on who you are. But for me, I try to start later in the season so that I'm constantly interested in my topic. And that's another thing. If you're starting to get bored of your piece, if you're doing speech or if you're doing impromptu, it means you need to change something up, constantly challenge yourself to do something different, something harder, and you won't get discouraged.
That's a okay, kind of slow build up that ramp, right? I like it. Okay, Nathan, how about you?
With my experience with debate, I found it's really about, and I think other people have touched on this. I remember Jessica touching on this. It's really about not focusing on the wins and on the losses, about like, oh, how many speaker points did I get? Oh, I should be getting 30s. Um, it's really about focusing on yourself. And again, it's not easy to do. I know I don't do this a lot of the time. But it's really, you have to look and focus on your process and your path. It's about understanding that, hey, I might not be perfect. I might never be perfect. That's not the point, right? The point is not to be perfect. That's boring. The point is to move forward, and the point is to learn. The point is to grow. And so with each tournament, I find myself, when I look at the ballots, I focus more on, I find myself that I don't struggle too much with ballot criticisms. I can incorporate it pretty healthily. How do I word this? But yeah, it's really, you just have to know that it's not about the winning. And sure, winning is like a good thing. It's like, it's not like you don't want to win. Of course, winning is another motivation, but it should not be your main motivation. Because if winning is your motivation and your sole motivation, you will lose that motivation. I guarantee it. That will be gone because winning is not a guarantee. What you can guarantee is yourself, and really looking ahead and understanding that there's room to grow, but that there's worth in growing and there's worth in keeping to go.
Awesome. You touch on the mindset, right? Kind of set your mind correct, and then things will start falling into places. I mean, I hear similar things from high performing championship team, the coach. They say that if you focus on the winning or you focus on the losing, which are serving as a positive and negative motivator, they might not last very long, right? Really focus on how you actually improve yourself every single day, every single time. I think that could really provide that sustained growth. Okay, awesome. Okay, so we only have 1 more minute. I'm gonna just borrow 1 minute, steal 1 minute. Then let's see if anybody else has last minute question. We can stay on if needed. Can spend overnight if needed. I feel like this is awesome, right? A lot of golden nuggets has been shared. We'll do those more if there are more requests as well. So I just want to share, hey, maybe some parents or students heard about the JV Varsity, the competition. How do they kind of start engaging with that program, right? So I'm just gonna give a little bit an intro on how that works. Let's see if I can. Okay, so it's super simple. This was the slide I shared in my info session. Have some lovely people at the background over here as well, right? And so we are actually, the season is kind of consider it's open, right? It's open. First tournament is coming up shortly as well in September. And we do have different packages. You all mentioned about private coaching is probably the most value add through the JV Varsity team, which I totally agree. It's really, you want tailored coaching in addition to others, maybe lab and other classes. Everybody's situation is different. It's really based on your personal goals. This is a link to register. I'm gonna post it in the chat window as well. And the best part is we are actually going to do some early recruitment. It's still early. Everybody is returning to campus. But if you set your mind, say, hey, I'm gonna make it a successful season, right? Probably start planning right now, right? So we have the early bird going on for the next 2 weeks. So take full advantage of that. And for high schoolers, we're actually kicking things off by running a workshop next Saturday, 10 to 1. I know it's, I think it's SAT testing day, so we're gonna miss some of you. And but if you are ready to go, Coach Asha will be there, Coach Shante will be there. We just start kicking off and do some planning, some prep work, and even some tactical stuff you can do for the Jack Howe tournament in September as well. So if you decided you don't have to commit right away for varsity, just do the workshop and we can then figure out what needs you have. Then if you decide to join later, we will credit you back on that cost as well. Okay, so I'm gonna copy the
I
link.
put it in the chat actually already.
Okay, perfect. So I think that's all from me. I'm gonna stop the share and let's see, Coach Robert, maybe call for some last minute questions if anybody has any.
Actually, one of the questions is, will private coaching be remote or in person this year? I think it depends on the coach, actually.
Yeah. It's one-on-one is super flexible depending on the needs, the time and location. Yeah, we're open to do both.
And great question, actually. Thank you for asking. If anybody else has any other questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat and I can address them. You can unmute and ask either one. Otherwise, we're pretty much all done. Go ahead and contact us if you want any more information. If you're also interested in the leadership team, which the majority of the students on the call are in, we do a lot of work with doing internal tournaments. So the students learn how tournaments work, how to run them, how to judge them if they're a little older. And I get a lot of experience on working together as a team, what it means to be a leader and kind of how to help your community. So if you're interested in that, in the JV varsity team or both, go ahead and let us know and we can reach out and give you some more information if you need.
We'll give a round of applause to all the competitors and leadership team. Fantastic job. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. Okay, I think we can wrap this up. Thank you, everybody, for spending the Saturday evening with us. And if you have questions, definitely let us know. Till next time. So long, everybody. Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you.